Back in May, Cam and I went on a 5-day trip to Washington, D.C., and we of course vlogged our time there to share with you guys. The purpose of the trip was for me to renew my passport and to see the city. I'm not sure how many of you know, but I, Petra, am originally from Sweden and moved to the US to be with Cam 3 years ago. One thing that's a struggle is that in order for me to renew my Swedish passport, I first have to travel to Washington, D.C., New York City or San Francisco to create a new one, and then to another place a few months later to pick it up, which we're doing in Chicago later this year. Even though the purpose of the trip was pretty boring, we decided to make the most out of it and see as much of the US capital as possible, and I must say that we were both really surprised at what a great trip it ended up being. Day 1. We arrived in DC around lunch and decided to walk around the area around our hotel after we had checked in. It's a surprisingly walkable city, and we ended up walking a lot during our time here. The White House wasn't that far away at all, so that's where we walked first. It was really surreal seeing it in person, and you'll see that we come back to it quite a few times during our stay. Then we ended up at the Old Ebbitt Grill, which had some amazing food. Before we check out the rest of the trip, however, let's take a quick break and talk about this video's sponsor. If you feel like your experience is holding you back from pursuing the career that you want, then I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. They're a non-profit university dedicated to making education accessible to everyone and has one of the largest accredited non-profit online degree offerings in the country. SNHU offers a game development degree where they aim to help assist you into the world of video game creation. As gamers ourselves, we have always been curious about the behind-the-scenes process of how games are made, and if you feel the same, this might just be the program for you. In this program, you will learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences using game AI, game physics, and 2D and 3D graphics interface design. You also learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java, how to use Unreal Engine to construct games for various platforms, and even 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. All this is taught by faculty with real-world experience who will teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the game programming field. They're an online university which allows you as their student to study at times that work best for you. SNHU is also very affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation, and they were voted one of the country's most innovative universities by the US News and World Report. Go to snhu.edu/CamXPetra, also linked in the description, to see what the current average annual salary are for a game developer, and request free information about the program. When you request information, a real person will hop on a call and discuss how the program can benefit you personally. We are excited to see what future game developers create and would love to someday play a game that's been made by you. 2 of our DC trip. After walking around some more, we then went to a DC night tour for a few hours, seeing some of the main sites and landmarks. It was great doing this tour at night since so few other sites were open at this point, like the museums, and we really wanted to maximize our time here. During the tour, we saw the Navy Memorial, the White House, US Capitol, National World War II Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Korean War Veterans Memorial, Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and the US Marine Corps War Memorial, as well as drove past some other sites. Overall, we had a great time with the tour and happy that we got to see so much stuff. Day 2. The next day, we spent the morning walking around some more and then went into a clock tower to get some amazing views of the city, thanks to yesterday's tour guide's amazing recommendation. After that, we went to the National Archives Museum to look at the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, which was really cool seeing in person. This city has so much history, and we tried to see as much of it as possible. We then headed over to the National Gallery of Art, which had a lot of really beautiful art pieces. We try to go to galleries and museums as much as possible when we travel, since it's a really nice way to spend the day and see things you normally wouldn't. This place was massive, and we could have easily spent hours here. But after walking around for a while, we decided to go outside and check out the gardens. And it's finally time to do what we came here for, my new passport. The embassy was over in Georgetown, a really cute neighborhood, and after I was done at the embassy, we spent the rest of the day here. We walked around a lot and then found a cat cafe, which we of course had to go into. Neither of us had been to one before, and it was such a nice break and really hard not to bring any new kitties home with us. We had some burgers and then went on a boat ride down the river. It was supposed to be guided, but they just had a pre-recording, which was a little disappointing, but it was still nice and relaxing anyway, and we ended up having a great time. We had some quick drinks, and then it was time for the last tour of the day, a Georgetown Haunted Walking Tour. We walked around the neighborhood, listened to local tales, and even got to see the exterior house and staircase from where The Exorcist was filmed. There were also randomly 2 massive transformers outside this one guy's house, which had the whole tour group laughing. Day 3. We spent our third day in DC mainly checking out more museums, starting off with the National Museum of Natural History. I think we both agreed that the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles was slightly better, but we still had a good time here. After that, we rented some scooters and rode around the so-called National Mall, which is this huge park where most museums are located, on our way to the Library of Congress. The library was absolutely beautiful, both the architecture and the library itself. We were both so happy that we took the time to check it out. Quickly went into the lobby of the Capitol building since they were about to close, before heading over to the National Air and Space Museum. The Air and Space Museum was really cool, especially seeing all the space travel stuff, massive aircrafts hanging from the ceiling, and also the planetarium show. We walked around some more after that, and then called it a day. Day 4. Today was going to be an exciting day, spending most of it on a tour to see George Washington's estate in Mount Vernon. as well as some quick stops in the Old Town Alexandria. We really liked this tour, and it was such a cool experience walking around and learning about the first president's life at home, and getting to walk through his mansion and the surrounding grounds. We went to Arlington National Cemetery after that to take in the massive military graveyard with over 400,000 graves. We also got to see the famous changing of the guards at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Infantry Regiment, United States Army, Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard.
Next up, we tried the Cheesecake Factory, and we were not disappointed. We had amazing food, drinks, and of course the infamous cheesecake. We didn't want the day to end just yet, so we took a late night walk around the National Mall to see the Washington Monument up close. This was so peaceful and some of our favorite memories from the trip. DC is very peaceful at night, and we stayed here for a while before continuing by walking over to the Lincoln Memorial for a second look. Day 5. On our last day in DC, our main plan for the day was to visit the zoo, and it was such a great experience. It had a lot of interesting animals and a really well thought out layout, which meant you were never bored. After spending as much time here as possible, we eventually had to get some food before returning to the airport to fly home. And that was our trip! What park did you like the most, and would you ever want to visit Washington, DC? I'm gonna be honest, we had low expectations when booking the trip, but ended up having an amazing time there. We can't wait to show you guys our next trip, which is to Chicago, and more vlogs to come after that. Thank you all for watching the video, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this, as well as our daily tech, gaming, and setup videos. And thanks again to SNHU for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check the link in the description below to learn more about turning your passion for gaming into a career with the SNHU Game Development Degree Program. Until next time, bye.